Welcome to Storycraft Portal, where every story isn't just told, it's felt. Today's story isn't a movie scene. It's a chilling reality hidden behind fame, flashing lights, and luxury. Imagine a world where power masks cruelty and stardom conceals deep, disturbing truths. This is the story of music mogul Diddy, now facing allegations that will shake you to the core. Abuse, drugs, manipulation, and control. It's more than a scandal. It's a dark truth about a broken system, revealed in the courtroom one jaw-dropping moment at a time. They called him untouchable, a king in a castle built on beats, billions, and blind applause. But behind the velvet ropes and flashing cameras, secrets waited like ticking bombs. Diddy, the icon, the mogul, the man who made stars, is now in a courtroom. Not to sign talent, but to answer to terror. The whispers began years ago. Parties that went too far, girls who disappeared from the scene, deals sealed with silence. But no one listened. Until now, Cassie, his longtime partner, shattered the silence. Her testimony trembling but fierce, breaking open a world stitched with fear. She spoke of control masked as love, drugs slipped in trust, and nights that turned into nightmares. The courtroom fell silent. This wasn't gossip, it was a reckoning. And as the first day ended, one truth echoed louder than music. Fame can't hide everything. The glass house is cracking, and we've only just stepped inside. The second day opened like a wound, raw, aching, and unable to heal. Testimonies spilled out like poison, each word heavier than the last. A former bodyguard stepped forward, his eyes shadowed with guilt, revealing nights where silence was currency and fear was the law. He spoke of penthouse suites turned prisons, of girls too young to say no, and security paid not to see. The jury shifted uncomfortably, but the cameras kept rolling. This wasn't just a trial, it was exposure. The defense called it exaggeration. But another witness, a former assistant, followed with trembling hands, describing drugs hidden in plain sight and orders barked in rage. Control was the real addiction, she whispered. And just like that, the illusion cracked wider. Diddy's team kept their faces cold, but the heat had started rising. This was no longer a story about one man. It was a system crumbling under its own rot. Day 3 was heavy with names. Some you know, some you've danced to, all now linked to a silence that stung. A music producer came forward, reluctantly. His voice cracked as he spoke of hush money, of contracts that came with conditions, and calls in the night that ended careers before they began. If you spoke, you vanished, he said. Behind him, a blurred video flickered, grainy footage of a party no one was supposed to remember. The courtroom leaned in. A girl stumbled, someone laughed, someone didn't. The defense objected, but the damage was done. For every song that topped the charts, there was a scream no one heard. And somewhere in the back, Diddy looked straight ahead, unflinching. But his empire, once golden, now smelled like rust. This wasn't just about past sins, it was about the power to erase them. Until now. By day 4, the world was watching, not through lenses of curiosity, but alarm. One after another, women began speaking. Different faces, same story. They were flown in, dressed up, and swallowed whole by a lifestyle that left scars where glamour once glittered. A stylist sobbed while recalling a night she tried to leave and was locked in. They took our phones. They gave us pills. They called it fun. The judge warned the room to stay composed, but the walls were already trembling. A former dancer remembered a private party in a New York suite. Music loud, doors locked, choices gone. Her voice broke as she said, "I didn't think I'd survive that night." Suddenly, this wasn't a courtroom. It was a confessional. Each woman became a mirror, showing us what we didn't want to see, the truth behind the VIP curtain. And we hadn't even heard the worst yet. 5th day, the mask was slipping, not just from Diddy, but from an entire machine built to protect him. A former IT worker presented a hard drive, encrypted but cracked. Inside, emails, timestamps, payments. A message reading, "Keep her quiet. Handle it." Gasps echoed. The prosecution leaned in. These weren't stories anymore. They were facts. Pictures surfaced. Bruises, drug trays, luxury suites turned traps. Each image screamed what words couldn't. The defense objected, but it was like trying to stop a flood with a whisper. For years, money bought silence, but now silence was screaming. "How many pay to stay blind?" the prosecutor asked. No one answered. Diddy sat still, jaw clenched, but even he knew the walls were closing in. Fame was no shield anymore. The truth was here, and it had receipts. And the jury was finally listening. By day 6, the defense finally roared to life. Not with denial, but with diversion. Diddy's lawyers painted him as a victim of success, a target of jealousy in a world that worships fame, then feeds on its fall. They brought forward a former friend who swore everything was consensual, that the women knew the game. He gave them everything, the witness said, and now they want more. The room shifted. Doubt crept in like fog. But then, the prosecution brought back Cassie. Not to repeat her trauma, but to show the change. "I'm not the same girl who stayed silent," she said, standing taller. "This isn't revenge. It's survival." The contrast was striking. One side told stories of glitter. The other showed wounds. And deep down, even the jury could feel it. Truth doesn't shout. It bleeds. This wasn't about one man falling. It was about what held him up for so long. Day 7 was quiet until it wasn't. A financial advisor came forward, hands shaking. He described offshore accounts, sudden payoffs, and millions moved with no questions asked. He funded silence the way others fund albums, he said. Then came a forensic audit, timelines matching abuse claims with private flights, payments, and NDAs. It was all connected, a spiderweb of hush money, lies, and control. The jury stared, stunned. It wasn't just about what happened behind closed doors. It was about how it was covered, protected, polished. A house built on talent, yes, but held up by fear. Diddy sat back, eyes locked on the table, as if the numbers were louder than the words. This wasn't just emotional. It was criminal. The foundation of his empire had shifted, and now it was sinking, slowly, irrevocably. The 8th day was a mirror held up to the music industry itself. A whistleblower, once part of a major label, testified that Diddy's behavior was known, discussed, even joked about in halls filled with gold records. We all knew. No one said a thing. Labels, brands, collaborators, they signed checks, booked shows, and looked the other way. He was too big to fail, they said. But today, no one was laughing. The courtroom felt heavier, as if the walls could hear everything that had been ignored. Artists started tweeting, some apologizing, others distancing. Fame was fracturing. How many careers were worth the silence? The prosecutor asked. No answer, but in the silence, there was shame. This wasn't just Diddy's trial anymore. It was the industry's. The machine that made him was now dismantling itself, one broken promise at a time. 9th day, the courtroom held its breath. Closing arguments fired like final bullets. The defense painting a story of a powerful man unfairly villainized. The prosecution showing a trail of broken lives too many to ignore. This isn't cancel culture, they said. This is consequence. The jury was sent out, the city outside tense. News vans camped. Protestation. Victims waited, some watching from afar, others sitting in silence inside the courtroom. Diddy didn't speak. He didn't have to. Everything that needed to be said had already exploded into the world. But still, a question remained. Would justice follow truth? The jury stayed out for hours. And in that waiting, a different story played of a culture shifting, of silence cracking. The outcome would matter, but something had already changed. No more smoke, no more mirrors, only truth. Day 10, the jury returned, eyes lowered. The foreperson stood, voice steady, guilty, a gasp, not just from the room, but from a world watching in real time. The charges were confirmed: conspiracy, abuse, obstruction, the fall of a giant, written in court records. Cassie cried silently. A ripple of emotion ran through the crowd. Some wept, others simply nodded, a weight finally named. Diddy didn't flinch, but his legacy cracked like stained glass. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Years of silence, pain, and fear had been transformed into something louder: justice. As he was taken away, the cameras didn't cheer. They simply captured the truth. No crown lasts forever, and no empire built on suffering can stand untouched. Outside, the sun broke through heavy clouds, and somewhere a new story began, one written by those who once had no voice.